Yep.
All right. Hey, guys. This is Rob,
This is Ryan.
and you're listening to Frontier. Today, we're bringing you another episode. And I know that we've had quite a lull in our episodes. We've taken a bit of a break as things are getting crazy. We're getting back. Ryan and I are both going back to our full-time jobs. The summer is over. Um, both doing full-time teaching, and things are just, of course, weird in all over the nation. Just things are messed up and not where they should be. It's like somebody came up, like it's like in between every single block, somebody takes your sharps and flats and just like moves them around, and that's kind of how life is right now. Like, you just don't really know when you're going to be hitting your E flat, or if that's actually not an E flat. And I'm sure that you guys can all relate to that. There's been a large level of needing to cope with things that we've never had to deal with before. Yeah, Ryan, you got
Yeah,
anything to add?
they say variety is the spice of life, but I think life has been spicy enough
Too
for
hot,
a little while.
too hot, too hot. That's right.
Yeah, anytime we want to tame the heat down would be fantastic.
That is right. Please, universe, please reconsider. Um, yeah. So I know. Like with me, I've been looking for houses, and it's been like an absolutely negative experience doing so because of the just how weird the market is. Um, the Going back to school, I'm doing remote learning, but I have to be in my classroom, and so I've got to teach virtually, like each class twice a week. And I've got kids that I can't possibly mute them all fast enough to keep it silent to be productive. I'm like thinking of three things. I'm like, all right, watching the side screen, trying to mute this kindergartner, mute this kindergartner. Meanwhile, this other one's popping up. I can hear these parents in the background saying things that I don't want anybody else to hear. And it's been a really crazy experience for me. Ryan, how are you? You've got a now you
We're
Ryan's teaching
we're in
percussion all day.
school.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he's
we're in school. So we're in school 5 days a week. I teach 4 of the 5 days, so I'm not in every Friday, but we're doing like band showcases. So even on Fridays, I'm in at work either at the football game that we've had one home game for, or our band showcase, which we had our first band showcase Friday. But yeah, I mean we're in 5 days a week, and it's the most difficult part is the figuring out the sharing thing. And obviously we've worked to eliminate all that. So we have all of our middle school kids are working on their practice pads and bell kits that they got when they first started percussion, which some of them have really had to go digging to find. um, but it's been nice to go back and work on major scales and all that stuff with them, and work on sticking patterns. And the high school kids, I have a separate room where I pull the percussionist out too, and get to work some fundamental skills with them, and just taking some time. I reevaluated basically everything after the end of my first year at the school, and just was like, all right, I want to redo how I teach percussion basically, and how I approach a curriculum. And we restarted with that, and we're all working on a stick control right now, which has been a blessing and a curse, because you figure out what kids struggle with, like, this is my right hand and this is my left hand. But it's been super cool to take a step back and not have to focus on like percussion ensemble or anything that is like indoor performance related, because we still don't know, like, when are we going to have a concert? Maybe December, maybe May, maybe next school year, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's been crazy life. Besides that, like, I've been better about recharging my batteries, which has been my biggest thing in 2021, or whatever year this is, 2020, hopefully 2021 soon. But for me, just allowing myself to recharge my battery, because I'm 33 years old now, and I've been going really hard at this band thing for a really long time, and starts to take its toll if you don't do some things for yourself. So I've been just relaxing, watching some Netflix, and taking Sundays and watching football.
there you go. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. And at least the weather's changing, so it's not
Yes.
miserable to go outside right now.
Yes.
Yeah, my dog and I, who hopefully you cannot hear, is outside uh, barking, trying to come back in. But I'm gonna let him go chase squirrels for a little while longer. We went on a nice like 2.5 mile run today. Amazing weather. It's so nice outside. It's crazy nice. So there is that. That is the good thing. You know, we have nice weather right now.
Yeah, pretty soon it's going to be jeans and hoodies weather, which is a-okay.
Yeah, right. The real marching band weather. All right. So speaking of odd times, obviously we have all had to cope, and it sounds like Ryan is coping really well. He's realized that hand to hand problems and height to height problems are still the same, no matter what type of what how the universe is treating him. The percussion is still the same, and I'm sure that all of you front ensemble people out there are finding new ways to cope. So Ryan and I teach at one shared high school, and kids are wearing masks. They're all at least 6 feet apart. The band directors are nails about during full ensemble and marching band giving like mask on, mask off times and giving the kids time to drink water, knowing they know exactly when it's appropriate to have them on. Some of them have these cut masks, which I question how great these cut masks are, but they're cut so they can put like their mouthpiece in between them or something. I guess maybe like if you play flute, that keeps your wind from spraying all over the place. But like, we're all finding ways to cope with this. Ryan, at your school that you're mostly full time at, how are things different right now for marching
I
band?
mean, basically the same. We're wearing masks. The kids have to put their masks on every time we reset because they're walking around by each other, that kind of stuff. All of our drills 6 feet apart, all of that. I mean, it's we've taken to the guidelines in Ohio, like you guys be 6 feet apart, that kind of stuff. We can only have 60 at our football games, and in Ohio, they cut halftime down to 10 minutes, which is like the minimum that you can have. So like some marching bands are able to do shows in that time, and some are not. Like the marching band that Rob and I both teach, they're able to do their show in a halftime. But again, the school that I'm at full time is only allowed 60 members based on where we can put our bleachers and whatnot that we put the band in. So we just do like a little pep band thing, and then we can only have 575 people in our stadium, audience members in our stadium. So everything is just smaller. You know, the crowds are smaller. The crowds are feel like they're farther away. But we did our first, like I said a minute ago, we did our first band showcase, which is just the marching band performing like pep tunes, all of our pep tunes, Star Spangled Banner, the fight song, the Alma Mater, some cadences, a front ensemble tune, doing some little like brass and woodwind features, and basically just everything that we've been working on, and doing that for the parents and an audience. And we can only sell a limited number of tickets, but it also helps with the fundraising, and we're not we're very careful about who we do the ticket stuff for. Like this past Friday was our 8th grade middle school night, so our 7th and 8th graders all got like a ticket for them and their parents, and they could come. And again, we did the numbers and it fell below the 575, but it was nice to get to recruit middle school kids by them getting to see the marching band and that kind of stuff, because otherwise 8th grade band night at a football game is definitely not existing this year.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, that's hard. That's got to be hard for numbers for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so as obviously things have changed, but there's zero competitions. But are your kids growing?
Oh yeah, yeah. The Yes, they're growing more individually. Like individual growth, I see just tons and tons of progress in my students at the school that I'm at, and then the school that we both teach. I see a tremendous amount of progress in the students individually. the hard part, the part that it's not a struggle necessarily, but it's makes it interesting at times, is that our ensemble growth is leaves some room for improvement. Like the kids play pretty well individually, but when they go to play together, it doesn't happen. So it's like we got 7 kids in the front ensemble or 8 kids in the front ensemble, and you're like, all right, if I were at a mixer listening through headphones and like mute, unmute, mute, unmute, mute, unmute, I'd be like, yeah, these kids are great. And then when I unmute all 8 channels, I'm like, what's going on?
So, and now is that because of a shortened amount of rehearsal time every week? Because we didn't quite get, spring and band camp?
Yeah, I mean, we lost a bunch of band camp. We lost about 30 hours worth of rehearsal at band camp. But also part of it is like I have, in my front ensemble, I have a senior who played vibraphone last year, and he's doing a great job, but he was like thrust into the leadership center marimba role. And then I've got sophomores and freshmen.
Okay. We need
just
like
super young.
Yeah. You've got some growing years ahead. We need
like the deer in the headlights look. Like we were getting ready to start our showcase on Friday. That look. We were getting ready to start our showcase on Friday, and I was like joking around with the other front ensemble instructor and whatnot, and I looked over at the kids, and I just saw the white of their eyes, and I saw one marimba player that just looked like she was about to have a meltdown and start crying. And so I walked over, and I was just like, guys, just breathe. It's going to be all right. We're going to have fun. We're going to play well. We're going to do all those things. She looked at me. She's like, Brian, I'm about to cry. I can't do this. I was like, yes, you can.
You have to.
Right.
You have to. That poor girl. That's too bad. I mean, yeah, you got to have those. At least
it's happening, at least it's happening this year though, and not like the first competition we go out and she's doing this and then we like don't play together, and then she feels like she's the one who cost the band points or placements or whatever, and it's like,
right.
So it's low stress, but
yeah, it's a great year to break those barriers and try to do, get that experience in. We should come up with surrogate names for the places that we work at, like fantastic high school with things left to be desired, high school. Yeah, but okay, so that's really cool. Yeah, so you said a lot of individual growth, and that means
I think Copper's going crazy in the background, dude.
You can hear him now?
I think so.
All right. Well, I guess I'll cut out this moment so I can go let the dog in. You know what? He could have partially opened the door. He's let himself in previously. When we were recording a podcast, he found a way to slide the glass door open by pushing on the side of it and just squeezed his body in a 6-inch opening, and he's pretty nuts when he's determined. But all right, I'll be right back.
All right.
You pushed the door open 2 inches, dude. You could have pushed it open further. Yeah, he opened the door about 1 inch or 2, which is why you could suddenly hear him.
His mouth was probably right inside the door.
Just let me in. He's nuts. He's great though. Okay, so and then individually these kids are growing, but if they're not growing as a group, does it matter?
Yeah, it definitely matters. I mean, they need to feel a sense of individual accomplishment.
Yeah.
And we're the school I'm at, this is the 4th year of existence for it, and we compete in a class where it's in our circuit it's called open class, but it's the class that's got the BOA semifinalist and finalist in it. So it's competitive marching band, but is it really competitive when you're competing with those groups? And So, and we had this talk early on with the kids of like, we can go this route or this route. What do you guys want to do? Just in terms of like recruitment numbers, because our options were to march a smaller battery and a smaller front ensemble, or to just march a large front ensemble. And there were pros and cons to both. So we talked to the kids, and because the last thing we want to do is say, all right, we're going to march a large front ensemble, and then half the kids quit, and it's like, all right, we're a small front ensemble and no battery.
Yeah. And what they go with?
So what's that?
And what did they choose?
They chose battery and front ensemble. So like our entire percussion section is 4 snares, 3 tenors, 2 marimbas, 5 vibes, and a synth.
Yeah.
So it's like weird numbers too. But what it allowed me to do was to just focus on getting all the kids to develop their hands, and put kids in a position where they can be successful on, either a flat drum or a keyboard. And they can learn to play 4 mallets, and they can learn to play paradiddles, and they can learn to play rudiments and all of this stuff. And, we are seeing some ensemble growth. The problem is the consistency in that. But the individual growth, like I can look at any kid, like the girl that I was just telling you about that was like ready to cry Friday night. Like she really hadn't played 4 mallets much before this year. And now she's playing it and looks fine doing it.
Yeah.
I've got a vibe player who, was actually an injured guard member who plays flute in a concert band, wants to be in marching band. So we put her on the 5th vibe, and she doesn't look like she's not a percussionist.
That's great.
Which is awesome. I've got kids that like could barely play 12 major scales. Well, could barely play 3 major scales, let alone 12 last year, that are now playing all 12 major scales. So I think that the individual growth is still super important. And I see it a ton when we go to this during school stuff, because we do no marching band during the school day. But when we get the concert band classes, like they've grown tremendously in how they communicate as just human beings and how they can move their hands. So it's like, yeah, the ensemble growth is not really happening, but the individual growth has been so much that it will eventually happen. Now, the question then becomes, will it happen before the end of the season, whenever that happens to be, the end of next month, or hopefully not, but sooner? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you, what is your take on, like, you have another school that you work with that I'm not at. What is the take there? Like, are they seeing some individual growth and some ensemble growth?
I'd say that, so in a lot of ways, the program was set to be a BOA like finalist at some time in the next couple of years. They were like, they like vocalized those goals. The band directors said, we want to do this. They talked to their design team about doing that. And I think in a way this year they've taken huge steps back away from that, from like, and like, everybody's coping with with like how the world is differently. And some of them are coping in a way that's like our shared school, we'll call it high school fantastic. Like those kids are, fantastic high school. I've got 0 complaints. Like the kids are nails. I think I've seen some pretty awesome growth. The kids learn because they want to learn. We don't have to be like, well, you're going to lose, unless you do better here. Like the kids literally want to learn it, and they like spend their time in between reps repping, and it's fantastic. And then at the other school, I see from the top down things not necessarily going as well as they should be or could be. And, it's like, it's a time of year that like a program, every inch of a program is tested. Like the integrity of everybody is tested, from like how great the kids are at habitualizing their good habits, to the band director's ability plan and set goals, or are they just skating through this year? I know that, you know, our fantastic high school band director has mentioned that there was a program or two that he knew of where the band director saw like, oh, no competitions, well then fine, no marching band this year. And you know, I guess that at least they're not learning this year, but they're not necessarily taking poor steps or learning bad steps. But then, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I'd say that individually there is some growth, program wise there is some growth, but it's nothing that I look at and I'm like, you know, it's nothing compared to our shared high school. Or it's really just kind of like in the music that they got, it was like, all right, here's an off year, right? And here's your off year music. And that's, to me, that's really obvious. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Like, I don't think that the writers in general have like, you know, as techs and teachers, we're very individual oriented, and like we communicate with these kids individually so constantly that we know that, you know, this bar 37, whatever, if this kid can nail this, the first half of this triplets or it's sextuplets, whatever, whew, we're happy with that. But the music that's been handed out to them is not even like, let's learn something new. It's like, let's rehash and have an off year. Like, it's just been set in stone. And so that's a shame. To me, that's a huge shame. But fantastic high school, where you and I are both at, you know, we've seen these kids grow a lot. But as you mentioned, like, we've got a vibe player there that the kid didn't learn his major scales over the indoor season as an 8th grader walking in, and then struggled here this year, he and another freshman or sophomore or whatever. And this year they both have learned their scales, and they're holding 4 mallets, even though that wasn't something that they were used to. They're doing alternating strokes. They're like, just they continue to grow without a whole lot of extrinsic motivation being thrown at them, and it's real inspiring for me personally. So I want to talk about this because you mentioned this to me during a rehearsal where you gave, I think, a vibraphone player X a compliment, and he was like, what? What did you tell him again? What do you mind?
I don't remember what the compliment was. I think it was how he was playing the Glock. Just like he was playing it with like super high velocity strokes, and it just did not sound good. It sounded like real pingy. And so I just told him, I was like, all right, I tried to explain it as like, we got to warm the sound up a little bit and not hit it as hard. And he looked at me, he's like, so more velocity? No, less velocity. So that was the information. Then we played the rep, and I went up and I was like, hey man, that sounded really, really good. And he looked at me real confused. He's like, wait, so I did it right? Yes.
Yes. Somebody who like has that deer in the headlights.
I will preface this by saying that you and I have both given this kid some tough love. So for him to think that I was being sarcastic is not out of the realm of possibility.
I know you shared that with me, and I just immediately had to reflect as like a teacher and be like, oops. It's just, he's in such a weird position though, because he's like, you know, entering along with such experienced players, and even his older brother was a really great marimba player who just left a couple of years ago. And so he's like coming in and he's trying to fill in these big shoes, and we look at him and we've got these huge expectations, and more than that, he fulfills these expectations. So I know that we are just like laying it on him, like, all right, well, how good can you get? And I think like he's reached a point now to where we have like successfully challenged him, and sometimes we forget that he is so far beyond the realm of what a normal 8th grader would be or 9th grader would be doing. And so to child X, vibraphone X, who, if you hear this or not, probably won't, because you don't listen to our podcast or us during rehearsal sometimes. We appreciate you, and we want you to know that for sure.
You bring up a good point. Like in that kind of situation, like that's a kid that is like younger, going into a very like a strong front ensemble. Like, let's call it what it is. That front ensemble is really strong.
Yeah.
And like the front ensemble that I have at my high school is very, very young and not strong. And like in both of those situations, we're like super tough. I know I am super tough when kids are like first learning out and trying to get them to be as good as they can be as fast as they can be so they can get beyond like that current level that they're at. But it made me take a step back, just kind of like you, of like, oh yeah, we got to tell kids they're doing stuff well too. As we're measuring this, like, and we do. We're not just like, you're wrong, you suck, you're wrong.
Yeah,
but,
we're usually pretty good about that. But
no, yeah. But I think they remember the you're wrong moments more so than the you're right moments.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've had to think about a lot recently, and I'm still having to think about, where it's like, all right, so our performance Friday didn't go so hot, but I still got to tell them, like, they still individually did a really good job and they felt good about what they did. So I got to let them have that, and I got to tell them that. And then on Monday at rehearsal, I got to be like, all right, so these things were good and these things were not good, and we got to address these things as soon as possible. So I think as we're, today's topic is about growth and measuring growth and basically everything to do with like individual and ensemble growth. I think that's one of the things that I got to think about as an educator still. And I think everybody needs to think about every once in a while. It's just the kids are doing stuff right, even when we're super frustrated. And it's like, this is terrible, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. There's still a lot of really good things going on. So yeah, and I'm kind of just talking to myself out loud right now, so I don't go in guns blazing tomorrow to rehearsal too.
Heard that. Hey, so here's one for you. Do you feel like you have grown? How do you feel like you have grown as an instructor this year during this weird time?
Oh, I've done way more investment in like fundamentals and individual kids' growth, and less of like, all right, let's nix this thing and nix this thing and nix this thing to make it as good as possible. But I'm trying to, my biggest goal was coming in to be patient and let the kids struggle. It's all right if they're learning and they're still struggling. It's fine. They're trying to figure something out. So that has been my biggest area of growth that I hope continues on when hopefully, knock on wood, we go back to competitive normal marching band next year. Is that I will continue to let kids struggle for longer in terms of education, because at the end of the day, my philosophy is that marching band is still educational, and I know some people will go out there to compete and whatnot. And for me, I don't want to go out and feel embarrassed, but I also have no aspirations of like, we have to go out and win.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely weird, especially on a competition year, to where you have to be like, all right, well, the kid is struggling, but they have to learn this. And then, but also we don't want to damage them by having their struggle obvious during a performance. And during a competition year, those performances are so much more frequent. And right now I know, yeah, like similarly, we're just able to kind of put them on the back burner, and like let it heat up slowly, and not having to change our standard or change our expectation for an immediate performance, which is kind of big.
Yeah.
So moving forward, like, fingers crossed, there's something that happens with indoor this year, whether it's competition or not. Do you have any predictions here?
Well, hold on. Before we talk about indoor, where do you feel like your growth has been?
Oh yeah, my bad. Okay, you know what? I may have like cruised right on past that on purpose. It's definitely been a weird year. I don't know exactly. I feel like I have grown in patience and resilience this year. I definitely realize that certain things, I feel like there are times that I spout and I talk to kids and I've said things very factually and not very like enthusiastically, whereas in the past I'd be like really into selling it. And this year I feel like I've kind of done a bad job about making sure I sell the information. And I've kind of, at some points I've just been like, I can see like a blank stare in the kid's eye, and then I can tell that I just like dropped a monotone as I like spout this fact. Like maybe I'm just like not reacting well to like he or she not listening at all. And so I'm just like, and you know, of course, if this doesn't happen, then this isn't going to happen, and we need that to happen in order for this to take place. So do everything you can to make sure that this happens. And yeah, you're doing great. Cool. We all good here? Sweet. Thanks. And so I feel like in a way I've done a kind of a bad job about selling some information in that manner. Things I've grown on though are definitely patience and resilience. And when that kid is struggling, instead of being mad and like, well, I guess I'm not usually pretty mad about it, but instead of like turning up the heat, I still just let it sit back there, and I'll just be like, all right, well, this still needs to happen, and I think you can do this, and I'm going to give you tiny bits of information, but I'm not going to change our goals here. Like our goal is still for you to be able to play all these scales, or our goal is still for you to have those keep those tacit mallets taciting and not moving up and down. And then letting the kid really just think about that on their own. I feel like that has helped the individual growth of these players quite a bit.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like this year has been definitely more long term than short term.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where we both feel like we grew the most in terms of like keeping the long game in mind.
Yeah, definitely. Which it's cool bringing it back to basics and like really just being able to be like, look, well, you can either get your double laterals going or you can't. So there's that, you know, like what do you like? It's not, there's like no other weird reason or like show chunk for these kids to learn the double lats, but I'm still rehearsing them at, you know, my high school B, and kids are still into it for the most part. And if they're not, like they're not. And if they don't choose to do double laterals by the end of the season, like then we'll still be working on other things, but that's in turns really their loss and their program's loss. But yeah, what was my where did I go from here?
You
What
brought up indoor.
That's right.
So I think indoor is going to happen in some way or another. There's been a couple of what's the word, surveys that WGI has sent out about virtual options, just in case they have to go completely virtually or partially virtually or whatever, of like, you know, would your group participate if there was a virtual season? Would your group participate if it was virtual but not competitive, or virtual and competitive? Do you want it to be like strictly an overhead camera, or do you want it to be like multiple camera angles and you edit the video, basically like putting together like a music video type deal?
Yeah.
And then like submitting that video to do a live stream through Flow Marching or WGI or something or other like that. WGI, I know, is supposed to have an announcement by the end of September of what is going to happen.
Coming up soon.
So soon. I don't know. I've heard rumors of like a delayed start to the season. I've also heard rumors of it being 100% virtual. I've heard rumors of like mostly virtual and then in-person finals or in-person at the end. Or, you know, I've heard a delayed start and potentially all in person.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think even when they come out with their announcement at the end of September, it's still going to be like a wait and see as we get closer to that.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of groups are hoping that indoor will happen. I'll be interested to see how many groups, if it's virtual, do it, you know, especially weighing a couple things. One, like just getting the kids to want to do it when it's non-competitive, because I know at like every band that I work with, whether I write for there or teach for there, there's been a couple kids that were like, well, this isn't competitive, so I'm out. This
Yeah.
is like the competition is what drives me. And
Yeah.
I'm always like, see ya.
Yeah. Seriously,
Um,
like no regrets.
so there's that, like, will they get the kids to do it? And, one of the things that I'm weighing when I answered those surveys, I to be completely honest, I had to put down, I don't know if my group will participate in it, only for the fact that, like, if it's virtual, there are advantages to doing that. Like, they can still hire judges, you can still get feedback, you can still do those things, you can still operate like a normal indoor season, that kind of thing. But so we're a concert group, we're not a marching indoor drum line, we're a concert percussion ensemble, like class A percussion ensemble. At the same time, I can do that with my kids virtually, or I can just do an after school like percussion ensemble and teach them a bunch of different pieces of music and do that kind of thing, and then not have to worry about, like, well, where can I get to videotape this performance at, like, because I got to have a space big enough that I can get up and back to take a video of. And then if it's competitive, like, I got to have good sound equipment to record off of.
Yeah. This would, like, I feel like it literally open up a whole nother field of judging as to where you have to take into consideration, like, how great was the video and audio? Like, did it affect am I judging the kid's audio visual performance, or am I judging the camera that was used to film them? I feel like that could be really unfair in some ways, and then, really kind of unlevel the playing field for a lot of different groups out there. That's really interesting.
Right. I agree. And at the same time, I've heard a lot of groups that are like, if it's virtual, we're not doing anything, or I don't see how we can do anything, or our kids won't want to do it. So I think no matter what, there will be some sort of educational opportunity for the kids to have this winter.
Yeah.
Whether it's in-person competitions or virtual competitions or virtual just performances. I think it'd be cool to just see what everyone's doing virtually on a live stream, because at that point, like, there's no rules.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to sample things by word, we don't have to sample things by one shot triggers, we can just, like, hit
Drop
the
it in.
lyrics and drum.
Yeah.
And we can manipulate the lighting to make it look as good as possible. We don't have to worry about, like, well, what's the floor gonna look like in this other gym that is more dimly lit and they got a black ceiling and the gym is really dark, versus, like, what's the floor gonna look like in UD Arena when the whole thing's black, or what's the gym gonna look like in this place where it's all halogen light bulbs and, like, burning your retinas out. Like, we can take the time to make it look, even if you don't have professional recording devices, like, you can still take the time to make the kids feel like it's a pro level photo shoot.
Yeah.
You don't have the stress of, like, all right, kids, here's what I need you to do. I need you to get the synth cart plugged in as fast as humanly possible, get the digital mixer up, then connect the iPad, then get the floor out, then get to your set, don't forget anything, and make sure that you have fun. Oh,
Yeah.
we can take 30 minutes to set up, make sure everything's plugged in, ready to go, sound check everything, then hit record, and the kids can have a great experience.
Yeah, won't necessarily get rushed onto the floor or something. So I feel like this is, I've got a group of friends that I think we share some of these friends, but they play a game called WGI Bingo every single year that they go to finals. And, things like vocalist is a bingo mark, or like hearing certain samples, or like certain stick flips or whatever. And so what are some things that you think could be added to the bingo, WGI Bingo this year? Say that everything goes virtual, what are some things that could be checked off,
man,
or that we can expect from a lot of groups? Let me start. Creative incorporation of masks into uniform.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's already been done, but it's going to be like boom, boom, boom. Like you could probably put like 30 of these things on your
Oh
on your
yeah.
board.
Huh. I mean, creative use of lighting or creative manipulation of lighting during the show.
Okay. Yeah. And do you think there will be any like pandemic themed shows? Unfortunately.
I certainly hope not.
Come on. It's gonna happen. I mean,
I certainly hope not, just because like
I'm rooting against it, but I think it's
yeah.
gonna be there. I for sure think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right. What else? Any other ideas?
Oh man.
Will we see any groups like wiping down their mallets in between sets or anything? Or
I don't think so. I don't think you'll see any groups like sharing stuff like that.
yeah. What do you think? Do you think we'll see like people sharing boards or even switching of instruments?
I would imagine not.
Yeah.
Again, like for the safety of the performer, I would hope not, because
Right. Yeah.
when you design a show like that, you design it around everyone being there, and
Yeah.
like there's a very real possibility that like if you're doing things in person, like at some point somebody's going to have to quarantine whether they get it or not. Like,
Oh yeah.
and you can't be like, all right, Johnny's got to push this vibraphone literally every time, and then Johnny's out of rehearsal, so
Dang.
all right, Susie's now going to break her neck by running into a vibraphone because we can't move it.
Are we so yeah, that's another good one. Are we going to see a ton of holes? Are we going to see quarantine holes in our shows? Yeah.
I mean, it's possible, but I would hope that ensembles would know, like, hey, record your show every once in a while just in case. Like, if you know that you got a show uh, a show 2 weeks from now, and your video's got to be in 2 weeks from now, like, don't wait till the last rehearsal and be like, well, crap,
Right.
Johnny's out.
Record all week.
Like, record it every rehearsal. As soon as you can start recording, just record every rehearsal.
Yeah.
Record every other rehearsal. Record at every other rehearsal.
Yeah, you mean like record a run through at every rehearsal?
Yeah, yeah, not the whole rehearsal, but yeah, do a recorded run.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I think that's just a good idea in general, because we all lost our last performances last year. Like, my group went out in concert A and like performed on February 1st and February 8th. And then we were supposed to have a show like March 22nd, and the season shut down like March 15th.
Yeah, none of
So
that.
like we were lucky enough to do like one last rehearsal on a Monday and like come in and record the last run through. And we hadn't even finished the show. So like our rehearsal was like, all right, you're gonna count to 8, and then you're gonna play the next chunk, and then go straight into the closer. And this is our final run through.
Yeah, I know that. Like our shared high school, fantastic high school, it was their first show right before everything closed down, where the electronics worked completely. And I think like the band director would say like he like was not happy with that show. Like the performance of I think like say individuals or whatever, he was just like not a great show. But to me, I was like, finally, all the electronics, the mics work. And the pit actually did pretty solid. Yeah, and that's a great thing to take advantage of, is making sure that you're not wasting any moment together.
Right.
Knowing that there could be holes or just a final show that happens prematurely.
Right. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for finishing out this fall and for whatever happens this winter is having those checkpoints of like just taking a look back and going, measuring the growth that you've had. That was the final recorded run through for us this past winter at my high school, of like, all right, we got better, guys. Like, we never got to show everybody that we got better, but like we got way better. We finished the show. It was cool. Like, we didn't get the electronic aspect finished, but it would have made it cooler. It was still cool throughout.
Yeah.
And then in marching band, we've been, we did show and tells for each other. The percussion ensemble did the first week of band camp, and the second week of band camp, we did some percussion ensemble like that to just like play together, And then we had like I said, we had our band showcase this past Friday, where it's like, all right, if the season got shut down right now, we still got to do band. We still got to do what we've been working on.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to play out, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about it on our next couple of episodes. I know that, obviously both of us are going to continue to try to stay informed, and we want to hear any of our listeners. Please, please share with us ways that you foresee the future happening, things that you find successful, or things that flat out did not work. Be sure to reach out to us at frontiered@gmail.com. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook. We have a TikTok. Is that a thing anymore? I know we've been on our break, but is TikTok legal still?
So TikTok got deleted from the App Store as of today. So if you have TikTok, you can hit us up on it. If you don't have TikTok, sorry.
Yeah, should we get a Twitter? Is that where our next move is? Do we tweet?
Probably.
Start tweeting to Pitsters. Okay. And then, yeah, do you have anything else for this episode, Ryan?
No, I would just encourage everybody, like, hey, reach out to us and let us know what you've been doing. Like, how's your season been going? What are some things, if you're a student, like what are some things that you've learned? If you're a teacher, what are some things that you've done that you've gone, hey, this really worked, and I want to continue to incorporate it into my teaching? And what are some things you've done where you're like, all right, that was boneheaded, I'm never doing that again? Because we all got them.
Cool. Yeah, and of course, if you leave us an email, there's a chance we read it on an episode. There's a real solid chance we read it on an episode. So, please feel free so that your questions can be answered. And, if we don't know the answer, we're going to dig deep to try to find that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, hey, I think that's all we got for you this time. We'll catch you guys next time
on the Frontier.